This match had it all. I know you despise Charlotte, but you have. Hello, guys, one more time. Welcome to Ring Royalty. My name is Alexis, as you already know. Alexa, once again, you're here. How are you feeling today?
I'm doing good, actually recovering from COVID, but we're hanging in there, so.
The struggle is real. Today we're here since we already know that Rhea Ripley will challenge Bianca Belair at Money in the Bank for the championship. We were inspired and decided to rank every women's championship match in the Money in the Bank pay-per-view.
A lot of surprises, both weirdly good and bad.
So without anything left to say, let's start with the video. So at number 15, we have Bayley against Charlotte for the SmackDown Women's Championship in 2019. Well, there's not much to say about this one, considering this was a cash-in match, so it lasted less than a minute.
That's pretty much all there is to say. For me, that was a change for one. At that point, Bayley was always the underrated or underused of the four horsewomen. It was nice to see her have the spotlight for once.
Yeah, I think it was the beginning of the true Bayley run, kind of like got to the moon with this particular victory. But yeah, I agree.
So at number 14, we have Alexa cash in on Nia Jax in 2018. I kind of liked it. Not that it was cashed in on the same night, but the fact that for once it was cashed in before the match ended.
I mean, I was okay with it. I don't think, unlike Bayley, Alexa really needed another championship run. But then again, I would take her over Nia and Ronda, who are the people in the match at the time, just because Ronda was just starting, so she didn't need to be champion, and Nia is, well, Nia, so it's not my favorite. Yeah.
Good decision. I wish they would have waited on maybe another night than on the actual night she won the briefcase, but it is what it is. So.
Number 13, we have the first Divas Championship match of the night, and that is Kelly against Brie Bella from 2011. This particular match wasn't that great just because I think we have seen Kelly against Brie so many times during 2011. This is not the match that stands out. I remember others a little bit more. There was nothing really special about it. It was a bit clunky at times. And surprisingly, there was no twin magic.
Yeah, it was an okay match considering the talent involved in it. I feel like it was decent for them.
Yeah, it was okay for the Divas era standards. Because, I mean, the match was short as well. They had about 4 minutes only. So it's not that they could do much anyways.
That was a problem with the Divas era, match under 5 minutes. So they did what they could with what they had. A decent match, nothing special, nothing spectacular, just okay.
All right.
At number 12, we have Charlotte versus Becky for the SmackDown Women's title in 2019. It was weirdly short as well, and not the most memorable Charlotte versus Becky match. I think that's why it's that low on the list. So yeah, it was just for those two, that was kind of a basic match.
I think the match was just there to make Bayley become champion, but taking the title from Charlotte, who was a heel, instead of Becky. It felt a little bit pointless. The match ended with a big boot. I just don't get it. And like you said, there are so many other great Charlotte against Becky matches that this is probably one of the least important battles they had throughout their rivalry.
Yeah, that was a weird way of taking the second belt away from Becky, I feel like. But again, maybe that was just to push Bayley, and it wouldn't have made sense for Bayley to take the belt from Becky at that point. So, yeah.
I guess it also helped that Lacey attacked Becky so they could continue the feud on Raw while some other women took the spotlight on SmackDown. But it just didn't feel like the match felt like meh. Not like pay-per-view caliber match. At number 11, we go for the original Women's Championship, and this match happened in 2010. Kelly Kelly against Layla. This match was interesting for me just because it was a few times that Layla actually defended the Women's Championship herself. It was mostly Michelle, despite Layla being considered the official champion by WWE. Also, it was interesting to see Michelle on the outside, Tiffany on the outside. The only thing that took away from this match a little bit is that Michelle felt like the focus, even though she wasn't the legal competitor in the match. But other than that, it was fast-paced. It was actually the shortest match in this list that was not a cash-in, only 3 minutes and a half. So I think they were rushed a little bit, but it was still kind of nice to see. I mean, there were some nice spots.
Yeah, and at that point, I feel like it was probably Kelly's best match. Layla and Kelly always had a good chemistry in the ring, so it was nice that even if it was that short that they had the time to show it, it was nice to see Layla get the spotlight because in Le Cool, she was often overshadowed by Michelle in big matches. At least.
I actually wanted Tiffany to be maybe a little bit more involved because Michelle was heavily involved in the match. Actually, the most memorable spot that I remember from this match is when Michelle was sitting on the barricade and Kelly pushed her to the other side. And it's like that didn't even involve Layla, but that's how much Michelle McCool played a role in this Women's Championship match.
Yeah, Michelle, she has like that strong character, like she easily overshadows everybody when she steps somewhere just because of how big she is as a character.
But then again, it was a decent match and it was for the OG Women's Championship, so it deserves the spot in the list.
So at number 10, we have Bayley versus Tamina for the SmackDown Women's title in 2020. An average match, I would say, longer than the previous one, but it was kind of slow paced. The only one that was a no crowd one in the list as well, so I feel like that might have hurt the match in itself.
Tamina challenging Bayley, first of all, was refreshing because she was someone that didn't get a title opportunity for years. But sometimes she's like super quick in the ring, like in her run with Natalya as tag team champions, she was doing a lot of things and she was quite fast. In this particular one, she looked very heavy and slow. I think Bayley isn't as flashy either, so it felt boring at times because it was a very grounded match and there was no much going on. But then again, it was still nice to see some other women take the spotlight. I remember Sasha looking great on the outside.
Yeah, again, when your highlight is the girl that's not even wrestling, that's kind of
yeah, I mean, you know something is wrong when you remember more of the people outside the ring than the actual wrestlers. Yeah. But I wouldn't say it was a bad match. It just didn't feel like anything that big. It could have happened on a random episode of SmackDown and it would have been okay.
Yeah, that's why I say that the no crowd hurts them. That didn't felt special, but I mean, it's not their fault. Maybe if it would have been faster pace, that could have been better, but it is what it is. So yeah, it was okay, but not much else to say.
Then we go to number 9, and surprisingly, we had to discuss about that so we can put it on the ranking. It is Alicia Fox against Eve Torres for the Divas Championship 2010 as well. So the debut year of the pay-per-view Money in the Bank had a very decent Divas Championship match. I didn't remember before rewatching it that it was this good. There was some technical spot where Alicia was working on Eve's back the whole match. At some points, I would admit maybe there was like a lot of submission spots that lasted way too long, but I still enjoy the match overall.
An okay match. They're both great wrestlers, so maybe I was hoping for more. The moves were nice, but too many slow spots in my opinion.
Let's remember also that both of them were quite green at the time. The 3 spots that I remember, and all of them are Alicia spots. When Alicia hit the spinning backbreaker, looked devastating. The crowd was in shock because I don't think she used that move before. She debuted that on the pay-per-view, so it was like, what the hell? A diva doing this move. And then when Eve tried a diving senton and Alicia just buckled her knee-ups, working on the back again, and obviously the beautiful scissors kick that she does to end the match. It felt like a solid ending. It didn't end with a roll-up like some other matches we have seen previously, so that was kind of nice.
Yeah, a strong finish for the Divas era, I would say, and probably one of the matches that put Alicia as a serious contender. Start taking her more seriously then.
Mm-hmm. And it was the only pay-per-view that she actually defended the title successfully. So, I mean, kudos for that and get some respect on Alicia Fox's name.
Someone who's way too underrated for everything she did and everything she went through as well.
I agree with that.
So at number 8, we have Becky Lynch versus Lacey Evans Raw title match at the 2019 pay-per-view. Kind of fast-paced match.
Being honest, I completely hate the chemistry between Becky and Lacey. I think most of their matches were awful. Not like awful because they were terrible, but they just weren't as good as when they fought other people. The thing that ruined the match for me, it was very predictable because Lacey was the first challenger Becky got when she became Becky Two Belts. It was obvious that nobody or the newbie wasn't taking the title away from her. Well, Lacey's character worked pretty well, like the sassy Southern Belle with this tissue. I think she works really well character-wise, but I'm not sure if she was nervous or what. I don't think it was her best match in ring-wise.
You'll correct me if I'm wrong, one of her first big feud on the main roster as well.
I think it was the first one, actually.
So yeah, probably some adapting to do. Again, someone who was so over in Becky. Maybe, the nerves.
Something didn't click. It was decent, but it was not the great match that we kind of expected.
No, but again, if you don't have chemistry with someone, it's going to show easily in a match. And I think sadly that's what happened there. But again, they needed someone to lose that wasn't going to affect them that much. So Lacey, in a way, was a wise choice for that.
Yeah, she was a safe card. But unfortunately, it took like 3 pay-per-views to get a very decent match between the two. No shade, but it is what happened. At number 7, and I'm very surprised to pick that as number 7. I thought it would be higher, actually. Carmella against Asuka for the SmackDown Women's Championship in 2019. So my problem with this match is that none of the girls were used to their full potential. They kept mentioning how Asuka wasn't unbeatable anymore because she just lost her streak at WrestleMania earlier that year. And somehow they made Asuka seem like a regular competitor when she was not. I mean, she's still one of the greatest wrestlers on the roster. I think Carmella did what she had to do because I love her character work. She was trying to play mind games because she wouldn't out-wrestle Asuka like with in-ring skills, so she needed something else. The charisma was there, but even for Carmella, I don't think her wrestling skills were exploited that much in this match. Like they were both holding back a lot, not sure why. I think the booking of the match was, I don't know, a little bit off.
That was Carmella's best era in WWE or heel SmackDown run. Again, as you said, Asuka not being treated as like she's here compared to Carmella. No shades to Carmella, but she's just much better as a wrestler, and that it was a decent match. Better, honestly, than I expected.
I think it was too long. And I know we're complaining that the Divas era matches are too short, but I think I don't remember anything memorable in this match in particular, like a big spot that I'm like, oh, that was the star moment of this match. There is not that. And for being around 11 minutes and having absolutely no memorable spot, I think it was a little bit too long. If this was about 5-6, maybe it would have been a little bit better. And the ending was horrible.
Yeah, and again, what's the point of carrying a match for too long if it doesn't tell a story at the end?
Well, James Ellsworth returned.
Yeah, that was like the only spot I remember from the match, which is sad. Agree, it could have been a little shorter, maybe around 7 or 8 minutes. Skip the James Ellsworth crap.
I wouldn't say the match was bad, but it was just not exciting enough to last around 11 minutes. And well, the fact that James Ellsworth returned, Asuka was staring at him for like, what, a minute? They make Asuka look dumb, and Carmella won with a badly connected super kick because she didn't even hit Asuka. You can see it in the replay that the foot was here. So I don't know, the ending was horrible. I was happy to see Carmella retain because she just got the title like a couple months before, but they could have maybe booked the match to end some other way so Carmella wouldn't look that weak and Asuka wouldn't look that ridiculous.
Yeah, it was, again, as it is with WWE, a booking decision. I feel like the match had potential to be probably higher on the list, but it wasn't, which is sad because I feel like both of them deserve better than what they got. But what they could with what they were given as well. So at number 6, we have probably the most surprising match in the Lana versus Naomi SmackDown Women's title in 2017. Could you have predicted before we started when you saw the match that it would have been in the top 6?
Not really. Not at all.
Lana's first match, I think.
Yeah, essentially, it was the first singles match she ever got in WWE.
I wasn't expecting that from her. From Naomi, of course, I was. But from Lana, I mean, kudos to her for putting in the work.
I think something that makes this match very special, it was around 6-7 minutes. It wasn't that long, like Carmella and Asuka. Because there were a couple of nice spots, that's true. But I feel like if it dragged longer, it would be lower on the list. I love that spine buster Lana used to do. I'm not sure why she didn't stick with the move as her finisher. They were giving the impression that Lana might have a slight chance to defeat Naomi. This has to be one of Lana's best matches in WWE, despite being the first one. At least the showcase she received was very strong.
People probably expected her. I know I did expect her to be like an Eva Marie kind of thing, which wasn't that at all. She kept up with Naomi. Maybe it's just because Naomi is that great that she can make anybody look pretty damn good as well.
Also, another thing that helped them both is that Naomi used the rear view. I remember this clearly. She couldn't get the pin, which was kind of nice to see Lana kick out of Naomi's finisher. Then Naomi finished the match with something a lot stronger. That was the submission move that she has. I don't know why she also stopped using that move. It was a believable ending. Love the spot with Carmella just skipping around the ring, pretending to cash in, but then changing her mind.
Yeah, I think that added something special to the match. So
That's
yeah,
true.
that was a nice touch. It added a little something special to the match in a way, but didn't take away from what was actually going on in the ring. Like, that's not the spotlight and the highlight of the match.
I really enjoyed this match more than I ever thought I would, because, I mean, it was a very pleasant surprise for sure. At number 5, we have another match that I seriously forgot how good it was, at least to me. And it was in 2018, Raw Women's Championship match between Ronda Rousey and Nia Jax. The only reason that this match isn't higher, at least for me, is the fact that we didn't get a winner. And it ended in double DQ, but this was Ronda Rousey's singles match debut. They did something very clever, and is mentioning how Ronda is unbeatable. She was in the UFC. However, she has never faced a woman that with the size Nia Jax has.
Yeah, it was probably because I'm not a fan of Nia Jax at all.
Oh, me
And
neither.
You're not either, but I feel it was probably one of her best showing. Yeah, it was a surprising match. I didn't expect it to be that high in a way. Fast-paced for not what I was expecting, so surprising. I feel that's why it's maybe that high on the list.
And Ronda played the underdog card here despite being a veteran in mixed martial arts. I remember Ronda taking very big bumps like powerbomb, military press, even a Samoan drop. Ronda legit looked destroyed by the end of the match. Probably the stamina wasn't there because she wasn't really that used to get long matches going. So, I mean, I enjoyed it overall. And when Ronda picked up Nia for the judo throw, everybody lost their shit in the crowd, and I was right there with them.
Like you said, she's been absolutely destroyed in the match by Nia Jax, so that she comes back and like pick her up like she's waiting nothing. That was impressive.
This booking decision for me was smart. Everybody, including Alexa that later cashed in, the three of them look really nice during this pay-per-view, so kudos.
At number 4, we have the AJ Lee versus Kaitlyn Divas title match in 2013. A very good showing because they have the chemistry that's absolutely insane in the ring. The reason why it's not in the top 3 is because it's not their best match that they had.
I think the payback match was just so top-notch that can overshadow this second match at Money in the Bank. But then again, that doesn't mean it was a bad match. Once again, opposite in ring styles, but that meshed together so well. The focus on this match was Kaitlyn having an injured arm and AJ working on it. AJ capitalized on it like the vindictive heel that she was.
Again, their chemistry is absolutely insane, so I feel like you can give them a 2-minute or a 20-minute match and both are going to be great.
The only thing that I would have liked to see is maybe the outside interference a little bit more prominent. Big E didn't do much, just carry AJ so she wouldn't bump against the floor. Layla didn't do anything in this one.
Outsider interference would have had something more to the match, which usually I hate. But yeah, they couldn't have not have Biggie and Layla there, and it would have changed anything.
That's what I'm saying. Maybe they could have been banned from ringside or whatever because they didn't add anything to the match. So, well, maybe that's just me being picky, but overall, the match was great. I really liked it. And, well, AJ's Black Widow is always a fantastic ending to a match because the move looks devastating. So,
it is amazing. I don't like her. I know I'm probably the only person who doesn't like AJ Lee, but I mean, yeah, she's great. I'm not going to take that away from her.
At number 3, I am very surprised to choose this as number 3. A lot of people would be happy and wouldn't bash me for it, hopefully. And that is the Divas Championship match at 2015. Nikki Bella defending the Divas title against Paige. I know we've talked about a lot of Nikki Bella, and most of my comments haven't really been that positive, but I didn't remember this was probably one of her best matches. The best pay-per-view match, and the best match she had defending the Divas title from her whole longest reigning Divas title reign. I think there were many different spots that I enjoyed. Brie was not outside at the beginning, and that was nice. Both got enough time to develop different moves that I haven't seen before. He hit like a suplex assisted with the ropes. That looked really nice, and that's something I haven't seen her use before.
Not a match that carried on too long. I feel it was the right amount of time. An even match as well, fast-paced, well-balanced.
Well, the crowd was solidly behind Paige because the Bella Twins at the time were these narcissistic heels that cheat all the way they could to win matches. Nikki Bella kicked out of the Rampage, and I don't think nobody else have kicked out from Paige's finisher like that. So that was like an OMG spot. And this is when I believe Nikki started to grow as a singles competitor a little bit more because she was not using the moves she shared with Brie anymore. She was more of a powerhouse now, using like power bombs or slams. Like getting her individual wrestler persona for me was also a highlight in this match.
Where you kind of see the split between the Bella Twins and where they become more Nikki and Brie in a way.
And also this match was long for Divas era standards.
Worst part of it was the twin magic, which didn't make sense. Brie and Nikki didn't look the same back then. Nikki had her hair down, Brie comes out with a ponytail or whatever.
Yeah.
I understand what they try to do, it was just weird. I did appreciate though that they restarted the match once they realized.
I mean, yeah, that was the only thing that kind of saved the match, just because it didn't end like the regular twin magic stuff. But it's still doesn't taste good. It's something bitter. I think Nikki could have done it on her own, and maybe the match will be even higher than it is right now.
Yeah, besides the twin magic thing that was just weird, it was overall a pretty solid match. I'm happy with it, with what they delivered.
Yeah, I'm also happy with that, surprisingly.
So at number 2, we have the last Divas title match of the list between Paige and Naomi in 2014. It's really, really good. I wasn't, for some reason, expecting it to be this high on the list. Again, I had a little issue with Cameron being there.
What was the point? She didn't add anything to this match either. I think also Naomi, despite being the challenger, got a very strong showcase. Probably even stronger than Paige herself. I think this was the first time we got to see some springboard and dives Naomi can do. Now we're used to them, but back then she was just branching out from this Funkadactyl character to be the athletic women that we know today. Probably started with this match around 2014 or so.
Sad thing to say, Naomi was like the time filler on the show, held back by Cameron, being wasted in a way in that team. Sorry if there's any Cameron fan out there.
This was kind of like the sleeper match in the card. The one that you didn't expect to be good, but suddenly it turns out to be a banger. That's how I felt this match happened.
Yeah, because both women not really showcased that much at the time. Paige was always being overshadowed by AJ. I'm glad Naomi got the chance to showcase what she could do because, as you said, she was doing absolutely nothing relevant at the time.
And in this match, we also had a couple of false finishes where it looked like Naomi was actually winning the belt. Nobody really knew if she would be able to. This match wasn't that predictable because Paige was the new girl on the block. So we didn't know if she was just like a transitional champion or they were planning on having her as a long-term champion. I think that added to the match.
Yeah, I mean, watching a match, no matter if it's 2 minutes or 20, and you know how it's gonna end before it starts, it's kind of sad no matter how good the match is. So yeah, surprising showcase by Naomi because we didn't know what she could do. And Paige, as you said, she's great. So we were expecting a great match from her, but they had good chemistry as well.
And that was the debut of the Rampage. This time, nobody kicked out of it. So I love the Rampage. It looks devastating. And we're finally here at the top of the mountain, at the peak. And we are choosing, I think it was pretty obvious which match it is. It is Charlotte Flair against Rhea Ripley from 2021 for the Raw Women's Championship. This match had it all. I know you despise Charlotte, but you have to admit that at least from the history of Money in the Bank, this has to be the first match on the list.
That was probably the best match they had together, the best era they had together because they had that NXT shitty thing going on.
Yeah.
Good, strong showing. Charlotte, when she wants, she can put on great matches. I feel like she doesn't always want to.
I think sometimes Charlotte doesn't really want to work with certain people, but when she wants to, she can be great.
I feel this one was very great. It was a long match.
The longest match actually of this list. There was something disrespectful that happened. Out of nowhere, people were chanting Becky in the middle of the Raw Women's Championship match. And for some reason, I guess Charlotte wasn't in the mood. She flipped off the crowd with the middle finger. And for me, that was so badass because she was the heel. So she was not taking the crowd's shit. She was like, you know what, you want Becky? F yourself. I'm the one here and I'm the one taking the title. And the match itself was really good. I think their styles and their chemistry was there also.
I can't believe I'm going to say that's one of my favorite Charlotte match. There's not many that I enjoyed, but maybe just because I love Rhea so much.
I think they put on a great show for a pay-per-view that is not necessarily one of the main ones. And sometimes they used to put like very lazy matches and the B or C show pay-per-views because they're not really that important. They're just fillers in the card, but this actually felt like a big deal.
Like usually the spotlight is more on the actual Money in the Bank matches. And this time around, I feel like that was the best women match of the night.
It was. Oh my God, it certainly was. I want to highlight though, 2 spots that were my favorites. The first one, Charlotte countering the Riptide into a DDT. And Rhea Ripley is such a great seller. She looked like she was knocked out when she was planted against the ring. And then the other spot that I like is that Rhea kicked out of Charlotte's natural selection from the top rope. And then I don't know where Rhea kicks out and Charlotte looking really frustrated about it. It just made everything even more exciting. This wasn't predictable at all. Both of them could have won.
When you realize who won, it makes sense. But like you said, it wasn't an obvious decision because Rhea was kind of big at that time on the main roster. So they could have put the belt on her as well.
Once again, we got another Charlotte title reign that unfortunately was a transitional one. She lost the title just the night after in another cash-in, but it is still the best match or the best women's championship match we've had in the Money in the Bank pay-per-view so far. All right, so this was our ranking of all the women's championship matches in the Money in the Bank pay-per-view. So we have talked about a lot of things. Who would you say is the MVP of the Money in the Bank pay-per-view?
I'm gonna have, based on the ranking that we have and how often they appear, I'm gonna have to go with Paige.
Yeah, I was going to say my MVP would be Naomi just because I think, unlike Paige, Naomi was someone we didn't really think about when we were ranking the women's championship matches at Money in the Bank, and then she popped out of nowhere with two bangers, like the Lana match and then also with Paige. So I think Naomi would be the surprising rising star of Money in the Bank. Thank you once again for joining me for this ranking. Is there anything that you want to say before we end?
No, again, as usual, thank you for having me. Always fun to revisit matches that I forgot about or that I haven't seen.
And there were so many names like Eve Torres, Alicia Fox, or Layla that were brought up to the list, and some people
And
don't
Lana,
really remember.
give it up for Lana, everybody.
And Lana, then some people don't really take them into consideration when they talk about championship matches or whatever. So kudos to them. And once again, I'll leave her social media over here, and I'll leave my Instagram over here, and we will see each other next time. Please, everybody, stay safe. Goodbye.